But let's move into the final topic, and that is the Sacramento Kings. After being such a promising team last year, we thought they would improve. They got rid of Dave Yeager, who apparently is an asshole because he's gotten fired from Memphis and now Sacramento, even though he's been winning. And now they hire Luke Walton. Expectations were high. We thought this team would grow, and now they're 1-5. Through 6 games, this team has pretty much been the worst team in the NBA. They have the largest point differential at -14. They're scoring 99.2 points per game, 113 points per game allowed. They did get a win last night against the Jazz in a 102-101 victory, but so far it has been a bad sight in Sacramento, and that leads to the question of the biggest change made this offseason was Luke Walton. It's been 6 games. It might be an overreaction, but Ricky, should the Kings look to fire Luke Walton?
After 6 games? Like, really? We're going to fire a guy after... Like, I get that we had on Superfans the discussion of will the Bulls fire Jim Boylan, but with Jim Boylan, we've seen a whole year and now a little bit. With Luke Walton, it's like he just got hired. Like, are we really going to fire a guy... Not even after 6 games. Are you really going to fire a guy halfway through his first year? Because the only guy I know to do that were the Cleveland Browns.
Also
and
the Suns.
Now, the Suns too. But like in football, that's why we call it getting shut.
But that was 6 games of an NFL season that's usually 16 games long, so it's different than being an 82-game season. And also Earl Watson had a full season before that as well. Mm-hmm. So this would be just straight up 6 games. Yeah. So I think this might be the fastest firing for a head coach. But we talked about this with Igor Kokoshkov last year, this early in the season. He got canned. Like, it might happen at the end of the season. We've seen it before. He might only get 1 season because this has been atrocious basketball. Yep. This does not look like the Kings team that this was last year. And, I don't think the system's too crazy for them to learn. Like, they just look bad out there. This isn't a team that was pushing the pace last year. And yes, they're dealing with Marvin Bagley being injured. But overall, Dave, this team just seems to be lacking some of the spunk they were missing last year.
Spunk.
Okay. It's a normal word.
We're professionals. No, for me, I look at Luke Walton's history. The fact that he got... one of the best teams in the NBA handed to him because Steve Kerr had back issues. Mm-hmm. People gave him all the credit in the world for that team, for a piece of that team's success. He got an opportunity that he maybe deserved, maybe didn't deserve with the Lakers. And what's happened to that team in the meantime? All the players there have had better success after they moved on from Luke Walton. He seemingly held back players in that system. Nobody got to shine under Luke Walton on the Lakers, and they underperformed. Guess what? He got another chance because reasons. So now he gets to take another young group of players, and guess what? They're underperforming. There's a trend here, and I don't know why teams have the level of confidence in him that they do currently, because when I look at what he did offensively and defensively, with poor rotations, with really struggling to get the ball into the right players' hands and set them up in the right sets, he is a flawed coach, and I don't know that he deserves to be a head coach at this point in his career. So for me, I would not be surprised. I would value the fact that they would get rid of him after taking a team that was fighting for a playoff spot with about a month left in the season last year to now tanking one of those teams. Well, they literally just added talent. They went in, they embraced it. They were like, we're going to do these we're going to do these interesting contracts with veterans to try to bolster our roster so we don't, let the floor drop out from us at the end of the season. And instead, it's like, all right, so garage sale, right?
Yeah, and they went out and added, the only loss they had was Willie Cauley-Stein, but they brought in a player that I thought would fit more with them, in Dwayne Dedmon, that would clear out the lane for De'Aaron Fox to drive and add, and would give him a pick-and-pop option from the 5 spot. So I thought it would be a good add, and you look at the pace stats, they were 3rd last year in the league, and so far throughout 6 games, it's been a small sample size, they are 3rd from last, and they were at 103.8, and now they're sitting at 100 and pretty much 100 when it comes to space. The only teams below them are the Orlando Magic, Utah Jazz, and Denver Nuggets, which, again, that kind of shows you that it might be a little bit off because the Nuggets were pretty fast last year as well. So maybe this is just a little bit too early, and maybe it's just a little bit jumping the gun there. Actually, I was wrong. The Nuggets were one of the worst teams last year when it comes to pace anyways. They were 98.4, so this is a team that played a little bit slower.
Playing to a slow-ass center, you better be slow.
Yeah, my bad. I thought that they were a team that just scored a ton, so usually but they were just massively efficient.
Yep.
But yeah, this was a team that wasn't massively efficient. They were just trying to get as many possessions as possible, And that's what you need to do, kind of,
The
in
kids
the
can
NBA
run.
today. And they're just slacking. And this is a team too that they had young players. It wasn't like they were getting older. This team had young players. It's why it fit their offense so much. You have
De'Aaron Fox is one of the fastest players. And Bagley, again, we talked about his motor. We raved about this guy. Sprints up and down the court every possession. Always a hard rebounder. Can slam it down. Like, they have the right pieces to run that up tempo, and they've just completely gone away from what made them successful last year. It's really frustrating.
The thing though with Bagley though, he's only played one game.
Well, yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, he got injured. That's what I was saying.
That's the thing of you're saying that this
If you're
is
telling me Marvin Bagley's the reason they're 1-5 or one,
it's not the sole reason. But I look at it and I go, you know what? I can't say he hasn't been able to contribute. The thing that I look at is L.A. Times article from who wrote this? Dan Woike, Woike, is his name. And some of the things that he kind of points out in his article is the pace of play that Sean just said. Because I guess all over their arena for Apple Pay, they got we play fast, pay fast.
Yep.
But they're not playing fast. Number two, the roster of guys that we've talked about, they have $180 million in free agency to Harrison Barnes, Corey Joseph, Trevor Ariza, and Dwayne Dedman. Those guys are only averaging a combined 27.1 points per game. So for me, I kind of look at it on top of even what Luke Walton has said, like when he talked about their preseason trip to India and kind of saying that this team, their conditioning wasn't even good. In order to play fast, you have to be conditioned. And I wonder if this is just something of the team's not conditioned enough with these new pieces not gelling right away. And that's why we're seeing this complicate a new head coach, a new system, a new language. And this team eventually will get better. Because the bright side, they played the Jazz second time on Friday. They beat the Jazz. So is this just something of early season struggles? They'll get it together. The other thing that puts them behind the eight ball, though, is teams like the Suns, teams like the Mavericks. These teams are looking pretty good so far. And, I mean, I know the Mavericks are out of the playoff race right now, but they're 3-2. Suns 3-2 as well. Seeing things like that does not help when you're a Kings fan because you want to be there because of where you were last year.
Yeah, and I think the big thing, too, is, you look at the three-point percentage last year, and they're at 37% from three last year, and right now they're at 34%. Or 32%. So there has been a drop-off in that, and maybe if the efficiency increases, you'd be able to, obviously win more games, but they haven't been competitive. 124-95, 122, 112, 113, 81, 104, 94, then 118, 111, and, this is against Phoenix, this is against Charlotte, and you barely squeak out a victory against Utah. It hasn't been if you're just making a couple more threes, you're going to flip those wins into it. It's a lack of effort. It's a lack of defense. And it's just not all there for this team. And I think the biggest thing that has to point at that is the lack of motivation and the lack of at least on message and consistency when it comes to Luke Walton. And yeah, maybe it's too early because it's only 6 games, but this is a team with Buddy Hield that they just extended for $98 million. This is a team with a great young point guard in De'Aaron Fox, and they're missing out. They have veterans on this team that are good in Harrison Barnes and Dwayne Dedman, and they have Bogdan Bogdanovic, who you'd expect would play better when on a contract year, but it's just missing out there. So I don't know if it's a spark that this team needs or if this team just needs better messaging and more cohesiveness in their locker room. And if we do want to go to what Luke Walton has been in, yes, the Warriors had that, but also Steve Kerr is a mastermind. And then when we go to the Lakers, there was that talk, although I didn't buy it because it was just it was diss tracks, and Kuzma and Alonzo are still cool, but there was that thing that it was just are these guys actually bonding together? Are they just buddies, and are they taking it seriously enough? And are the Kings truly taking all of this seriously enough to be a team that's competitive night in and night out? I look at their schedule up ahead, and maybe things will start to flip a little bit. Obviously, who you're playing is going to be important. You do get a game against New York, you do get a game against Atlanta, but you also mixed in there. You have Toronto, you have Portland, you have Los Angeles, you have Boston. You have a lot of good teams coming up. Brooklyn as well. So, really, when do you start hitting the panic button, Ricky? if you are this Kings team? Because you're saying, maybe it's too early to talk about firing Luke Walton. Mm-hmm. When does that come into your mind?
I look at it, to me, after the calendar turns to 2020, look at, it doesn't, and that's the thing, where last year, too, was last year a real expectation, or was last year just a peak where it was like you look at the monitor and it's like, oh, here, ooh, look at that spike. I wonder what that spike was. Was last year just a blip in the radar, or is it consistently where this team was going to go? Because not many teams have that spike and then fire their head coach and get a new head coach. I want to see how this team is running as the calendar flips to 2020 after they've had a significant amount of games to get your conditioning, if I can say the word right. By the time we get to January, if your conditioning is shit, then you've got questions to answer that are bigger concerns because of how many games you played. So that's what I would look at. When we get to January, what's this team like? And then start to make the decision whether Luke should be gone or not after year one.
When do you start panicking, Dave?
Already. Honestly, I'm just pissed at the team in general because it's like their free agency pickups. I understand in theory what the Kings fans were talking about in their subreddit about, like, oh, well, these are all movable pieces and, we can do this and we have so many options because of that, even though our money's tied up. Like other teams, trade deadline time, like these can be moved for stuff. But like you said, Dedmon should have been an upgrade because Willie Cauley-Stein absolutely could not give a shit night in, night out. He'd have those moments where he was on and he's like, dude, you could be the guy. You could be a top 10 center in the league with this talent. You got all the God-given talent in the world, but he just doesn't have it night in, night out. So you're like, all right, we'll get somebody who's got the ability to space the floor, good defense to a point, and Dedmon's played horribly. Trevor Ariza, guy who was washed up on the Suns, was like, I don't want to play for these losers, goes over to Washington, played okay, but not really great. Comes over here, same thing, doesn't look good. Corey Joseph, got a payday. Did he deserve it? Maybe. Is he playing like it? Absolutely not. So when your three big free agency ads are all just negatives, and that's your bench unit, those are the complementary pieces. No, you're not doing yourself any favors. The offense itself looks worse. The defense looks bad. I just am at the point where I'm like, I know Luke Walton is a young coach still technically, but I'm done with him. I don't think he deserves to be a head coach in the league. I don't think he will be a head coach in the league after this season.
Question for Dave. Who deserves to be a head coach more, David Fizdale or Luke Walton?
Not David Fizdale is my answer.
So Luke Walton over David Fizdale.
100%.
All right. Just wanted to see where
Luke Walton runs a bad offense and a bad defense, but at least he doesn't just have his offensive game plan written as ISO, like someone with a sharp fist is writing on a wall.
Here's one thing. David Fizdale's gone to the playoffs.
I just wanted to see where the hierarchy was for Dave.
Luke Walton coached a team to a fantastic year in Golden State.
That's a quarter of a season. That's a quarter of a season.
Great year, got a ring.
As an assistant coach.
Yep, he set up the dynasty that will be LeBron James in the Lakers.
So did Fizdale. Fizdale was the key in Miami apparently. So I'd go with Fizdale on that one. I think it's not too early to panic, but if you're losing, if by November 19th, if there's losses next to more than one of the Atlanta, New York, or Phoenix games, then hit the panic button. I think that's when you start talking about it because you got to save your season at some point. You can't just let the season go to waste.
I'm with you.
I mean, what's the point of being like, oh well, we got to see what he does. Do you need more than a quarter of a season to see what Luke Walton's going to do? Because, I mean, we already saw what you did in Los Angeles. It wasn't crazy.
Look at the talent that's gone from Los Angeles now. Thomas Bryant, it looks like a stud at center on the Washington Wizards. Brandon Ingram, career year going into the Pelicans. Lonzo Ball, I would say, honestly, he's just been too hard to even contribute at a serious level yet. Josh Hart looks better on the Pelicans, though, already.
But even LeBron James looks better. LeBron James knows coaching. He didn't fight for Luke Walton. He wanted him gone.
Exactly. And that's the thing.
It's not like he had a connection to Frank Vogel.
Without him. That should not be a sign of we should get this guy when everybody who leaves is more successful. I don't understand the confidence behind Luke Walton.
I also sit in it and it goes up to Kings management of you made this decision, getting rid of Luke Walton now is not going to if you did it right now, this is the time you have to do it because there's enough games in front of you to turn it around. if you fire Luke Walton in the middle of this season, it's not like you're going to turn it around so quick to make the playoffs.
That's why I'd give him more than at least 6 games, but that's why I'm not saying at least through a quarter of the season. If he's not working out, I'd fire him.
Because, I mean, if the and that's just another thing of like, if the player, we talked about, Dave, you mentioned how much money they put in to bring these guys in. If those guys aren't performing,
I love the Buddy Hield honesty of just like whoever came to Sacramento as a free agent. Like, come on,
no one.
And the thing is, like, if they're not performing well, how much of that yin and yang are you going to put on the coach to put on the player? Because if you're going to get that money, like Corey Joseph, if you're going to get that money, you got to play out like you got that money, and that's where we always see it in sports. How's the person play once they got their money compared to that contract year when they're fighting for that money?
Yep.
Exactly. And for me, I'm not saying Luke Walton's the best coach. I'm not saying that he's amazing.
He's a nice guy, I'm sure.
You got to give him more than just 6 games to this year. And I think that let's see this team when they're finally hitting their conditioncy that they want. Because I don't think they're they're not a conditioned team.
They're not an air
conditioned
team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they don't have their condition.
They got the box fans going.
If I throw this out there, if I throw this out there, if they fire him, who do they hire?
Don't care.
At the end of the year?
No, I go interim.
You go interim?
I don't even know who it is, and I feel more comfortable. Basically, letting the players coach themselves a little.
Mm-hmm.
No, I really don't know because I haven't looked into it.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like I watched the team play this year. I remember watching them play last year. I liked where they were going, but this is the wrong direction, and you can see the frustration on the players' faces during games. And it's just like this is not going to work. And hey, if they magically turn it around by the end of the year, I'm still not going to give Luke Walton credit. I'm going to give the players the credit because I truly believe that he is not a good coach.
I'm going to ask the same thing we asked about the Kyrie situation, though. With guys already looking like it's not going to work, how much do you put on the players to, hey, this is how it is. Buy in and see if it'll work rather than, well, it ain't going to work, guys.
But isn't it tough to buy into something if you don't believe it?
Yeah.
I mean, like, should the Bulls buy into all of Jim Boylan's shit?
Jim Boylan, the Fred Hoiberg stuff with Jimmy. It's like Jimmy and Ron are like, yeah, we're not doing this shit.
It's a weird thing that you need to do where it's kind of like I relate it to teaching because the teacher's got to make the thing relatable for the students. But if the students aren't going to buy in, it doesn't matter what that teacher does to try to get them to buy in.
But what shows you the Kings aren't buying
here.
in? The Kings obviously wanted to win.
No, but what I'm saying, like what Dave said, where it's you see the body language of like this ain't gonna work.
It's hard to be happy when you're getting the shit kicked out of you game
I know
in, game out. Like Sean read off the score lines. They were not close losses.
I am not saying they have to be happy, but it's a yin and yang of Luke's got to find out how to get them to buy in, but it's also on the players too. If the players are going to be rejectful to it almost and be like, well, this ain't working, we're losing, and if Luke's trying different things, I'm saying it's a yin and yang. It's both. It's not just in one court that, yes, the players need to buy in, it's just on them, or Luke Walton needs to get them to buy in, it's just on him. It's on both.
Yeah, I mean, his impressive time going 26-56, 35-47, and 35-47. 37-45, I should say, in that third year with the Lakers. Like there's nothing there that gives me confidence.
So what?
No.
Let me throw this.
I disagree with the players need to buy in stuff because I think that if you're buying into a crock of shit, like you didn't pick him. The front office picked him.
No.
The management picked him. So why should you be forced
to be there? Because how does it help the team?
I don't think it's a massive lack of effort. I just don't think this team is.
How does it help to just? All right, I'm not going to buy in. That doesn't help. Like unless the GM's going to say, all right, we're going to fire him, because you asked me or asked us, who would you look at? In my mind, if Luke Walton gets fired this year, the head coach of the Kings is Igor Kokoshkov. That's your head coach. It ain't going to be Byers. It ain't going to be Mermies. It ain't going to be Rana. That's the assistant that's going to be the interim the rest of this year is Igor. Oh, did you like what you saw?
I didn't even know he was an assistant.
Yeah, those are the assistants this year for the Kings.
I was looking at and the names I was going to throw out: JB Bickerstaff and Igor Kokoshkov. So yeah, get rid of Luke. I'd rather see Igor. Igor, I think, has at least...
Give him a point guard, and let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I think that he was a guy that I was super excited for, and I just don't think that he had a full great team to work with out there, and I don't think that... Monty Williams, I liked him because he was going to at least bring structure to this team. Maybe this team doesn't need structure. Maybe they just need someone to let him play fast and let him play loose. And I don't know exactly what Luke Walton's bringing so far, but it hasn't been good.
Yeah.
So,
and again, what development has he done? His team, when he first started with the Lakers, Clarkson, better. B.I., better. Julius Randle, better. D'Angelo Russell, better. And I know he was a circumstance of bad contracts, but still, the point is, Zubac, better. It's just, you look at this roster, how did you not develop players? Like Larry Nance, good player, got traded out. Lou Williams, yes, obviously wanted out. But it's just, every time you add young talent to that team, they didn't get better, and those young players didn't progress at the rate they should have. So why are you giving him a team loaded with young talent? If he's not known for his player development, he was known for holding the reins of 3 MVP candidates on a team. The fuck?
I think that's a good final thought. What's your final thought, Ricky?
My final thought is what Aaron Rodgers told us a long time ago. Relax. Give it a little bit more time before we jump the shark.
I hope they're better team. I love that.
I agree. You should relax. And then by November 19th, if they still suck, fire his ass. That's the truth right there. This team can be better, and I don't know if Luke Walton's the answer. Let us know what you think down in the comments below, Kings fans. You're probably frustrated because your team is 1-6, but maybe it's not Luke Walton. Maybe we're off, but we'd love to hear from you down in the comments below, so let us know. That's going to do it for the Fast Break this week. We want to thank you for watching, and if you do want to help us out, check out patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast. We love and appreciate all the support you can offer to us, so check out patreon.com/mostvaluedpodcast. It would mean the world to us if you did. But let's wrap it up. Dave Oster, Ricky Widmer, I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you next week.